Hi, I'm Kathleen Hawryluk, President of CIFA, Creative Floral Arrangers of the Americas, also a member of Naples Garden Club in Naples, Florida, and Gulf Coast Garden Club in Estero, and also Ikebana number 160 here in Naples. So what I'm doing now is doing some videos to kind of keep me busy during the pandemic, and also maybe to instruct the basics. This is what I'm doing today. I'm starting out with very basic mass design. And that is probably, well, it's my bread and butter essentially, because I do the church flowers, and that's what I do all the time is beautiful big mass designs. I'm going to be doing small mass designs, but the same principle applies. What I'm going to be using is Oasis, which is a foam, a floral foam, very light, and it comes with holes on one side and it's scored in thirds on the other. So what you do with this is to take a bucket of water, I use warm water, it's a little faster, and drop it in. Don't put anything on top of it, don't push it, don't try to wet it, just leave it alone. It will hydrate in about 20 seconds, 30 seconds. And when it's wet on top, it's finished. Take it out, and then you can cut it, or you can cut it beforehand, whatever you prefer. And that is wonderful stuff. It really keeps your flowers beautifully. So what I've got today is a very simple plastic container. You can buy them by the case at a wholesaler. And I've got a third of the piece of Oasis that I have already soaked, and it just fits right in here. And then what I'm going to do, just to keep it secure, is to take a piece of this, it's called waterproof tape, and it's really not waterproof in the sense that you can put it on wet surfaces, but what you can do is just catch it on the dry plastic or glass, whatever you're working on, and cut. Do the same thing here. And that now forms a very secure base for your flower design. And quite honestly, I have dumped them upside down, and it holds. It's amazing. That's my one clue. The second clue, I'm going to put this aside for a moment, is in doing mass designs, I have here a third of a piece of Oasis, and I want you to imagine that there's a center in this Oasis. There's a center point. And what I'm going to do is take a skewer and aim it at that center point. Not go through. It doesn't need to go far. I'm going to take these skewers and aim it at each one at the center point. So I'll come in from each side, but it has to aim at the center point. Now notice I'm not putting it in very far. It doesn't need to go in very far. It will hold. Also, if I put it into the point where it hits the center point, these are all going to interfere with each other, and you can wind up splitting your Oasis. Doesn't need it, just that's enough. Now I'm going to take this and put it aside, come back to my little I can get cut out. I'll come back to my container that I have prepared, and I'm going to essentially do the same thing I did with the sticks with, this is Chef Valera, When I lived in the north, I used to keep that in pots. We had a greenhouse, and I used it there. But here, it's a hedge, it's a tree, it's just incredible. It grows so beautifully. And we've pre-cut this today so that I'm not showing you the work from scratch, essentially. But what I'm going to do is cut them back a little further at an angle, and I'm going to put them in just as I did the others. I'm going to aim them at the center point, and I'm going to have them look up, because flowers that look up are happy. Flowers that look down are sad. So all of these flowers I'm putting in are going to look up. But notice I'm coming in from the side, top, and okay, now what I'm going to do, I have beautiful carnations. They're pink, they're just perfect, and I'm going to clip them. I might be able to do 3 or 4 at a time just for speed here. At an angle, you want to cut your flowers at an angle, above or below the node. It won't pick up water if you cut on a node. At an angle because we want to expose as much surface area to the water as possible. And the idea is to keep that flower hydrated. When we buy our flowers, we clip them, put them in water, and leave them in water overnight if possible. And they will be hydrated and very happy for you, and then you can go about your designing and they will stay absolutely beautifully. All right, notice I'm actually continuing the insertion of these in a radial fashion. Radial fashion means I'm aiming at that center point. And it's amazing what you can do if you just follow that rule. I'm aiming at the center point and I'm getting my sphere really beautifully established, I hope. It's a little too long, I'll have to cut that down. Okay, and I'm starting out with my largest flower, and it's not a rule, it's my rule. It seems to work for me. So I start out with the largest flower and get them dispersed throughout the design, kind of homogeneously, and yet I don't want anything the same exact height, at the same exact angle. I vary everything. Some are in closer, some are out further. You want to get the illusion of depth and space. You don't want it so tight you can't breathe when you look at it. And let's see where we can get this guy right in here. And again, my insertion is radial, aiming at that center point. Okay. I could use one more there. It's amazing, it does use a lot of flowers, but it's so beautiful when you finish. Okay, so we have the beginning of that, and people ask me, how do you know when to stop? I don't. I stop when it looks okay. So now I'm cutting the daisy moms, and I'm going to do the same thing with them. Intersperse them throughout this design. And notice I'm working on a Lazy Susan so that I can see all the way around it. It's very easy to work on that, and it's very inexpensive to go buy a Lazy Susan. You can buy them at thrift stores, or actually in real stores. You can afford that, it's not too much money. So, again, I'm getting my flowers in radially. That's the key. And we want to make sure to come in from the side. And that's about it. Oh, I see a nice place here that it wants another daisy. Okay. And one more over here. You could do this forever, actually. But I don't want to get it so tight that you can't breathe when you look at it. And notice I have not added any more greenery, and I don't think I will. Don't need it. And actually, if you put your eye in there, you can see that oasis. But you can tell the people, get your eye out of my flowers. Do I need this? I don't know. I don't know if I do. But I'm going to put some in. You'll see quite a difference when I put the lovely baby's breath in. It does give it some life and some lightness, and I do like it. So I'll do this. Get this in, and we'll see if we like it or not. And another thing you can add to this is something that flows out of it. I don't have anything today, but you can get some lovely movement if you add a flowing, something that drips out of it. There's a lot of things you can get that will do that. I like seeded eucalyptus often is my favorite because it does drip very nicely. Ivy, all kinds of things that will drip. Okay, I'll get a little bit more of this in. We'll cut all this nonsense out. Okay, what we've got here, I believe, is the finished product. And I'm going to show you now what you can do with it. And that is, you can put it on a pedestal on your table. And if I did that, I'd really put a little more hanging stuff in here. We can put it in a very simple container, a white container. And notice the white container is dominant. So we do have some white here, so the eye does not just stick with that container. So if you have a white container, you really must have some white on top. And then I have one more container that I'd like to show you that's a little fancier. And that's also a beautiful presentation, a little more formal. Now one more thing I'd like to show you is this is called Crowning Glory. And I buy it in a gallon and I put it in spray bottles. And what I do when I finish a design is to spray it, and those flowers will keep for a long time. And that's the end of this part of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have learned.